Alright, time for the pre-IB Q&A session. So we've prepared some FAQs about the transition from pre-IB to IB. So let's take a look at some of these questions. Also, apologies about kind of shoddy audio. I forgot to use my headset. Apologies about that. And also, my laptop is here, so if I'm looking here, you know what's up. Alright, question 1. How has your time management changed during the transition? Okay, so this was something that was bugging me when I was about to begin the IB as well. So for my personal circumstance, I finished my IGCSE in October-November of 2020. So I actually had an 8-month kind of hiatus, like a semi-gap year, in between my O-levels and my pre-university, which is IB. So during those 8 months, I really emphasized trying to keep a structure to what my day looks like. Of course, the first few months I took a break, I ran mini projects and things like that. But then once you got into like the 4th month, I started tutoring, so that gave me a greater sense of time organization again. And when it came to the last 2 months before my IB, I really took time every day to just kind of look at the subjects that I think at the time I was going to choose, what the requirements are from my universities. And so I partitioned my day kind of like a school day, but of course not as rigorous. So for me personally, my time management hasn't particularly drastically changed. And if I compare it to the IGCSE in particular, I wouldn't say it's too far off. The school hours, at least for me, are quite normal and quite similar. The only difference is that you have coursework to do, and that will take up more of your home time. Another thing I would want to point out about time management is that time management is a skill that is even more important in the IB than it is in the IGCSE. So this all just hinges around the fact that IB requires you to complete individual investigations, coursework, and extended essay and things like that within your 2 years. So how your time is allocated to different tasks will be quite different. A lot of self-management skills, self-study skills also will come in handy. Definitely, if you are consistent with that through your IGCSE or previous studies, whatever that is, coming into the IB will seem less daunting. So do prioritize that, and if you're not very sure, go try some methods and review it, and then mold it to how it works best for you, because it's going to be so important. Alright, question 2. So, did your study techniques change in any way? So far, I haven't made many changes to the way I make notes. For example, during the IGCSE, many of the skills are transferable, so making sure that you are studying according to your syllabus. As the IGCSE has a syllabus, your IB courses, for every single subject, there is an IB subject guide. You just follow along. I like to make physical notes. I also don't own a tablet. A lot of my friends do, but I prefer physical notes. I also am still keeping track with things on Google Google Keep, and more long-term notes on Notion. So those skills have been transferable. Nothing has changed too much. The only thing I would say is that because things are online, I've had to transition into adapting how to use Google Classroom when my previous school was using Teams. But then again, I've been schooling online for nearly a year and a half now because of coronavirus. So it's kind of been a way of life. So with the online transition, there's definitely more self-study, but at this point, I think we're all quite used to it. So just keep consistent from the beginning, and I don't think you can go very wrong. Just do your best all the time. Alright, question number 3. Do you think your coursework is more rigorous than a non-IB route? So I'm going to be comparing the IB with A-levels here, because that's the only other non-IB route that I am familiar with, and a lot of my friends who finished IGCSE with me last year went on to study. So if we are strictly comparing to the A-levels, I would say definitely yes. So like I mentioned, most of my friends went on to do A-levels, which is a fully examination-based pre-university course. So they take one exam this year end, and then another one in May, June, and those 2 marks add up to your final A-level grades. So since it is an equivalent accreditation to the IB, and they're both pre-universities, I've heard that A-levels is equally as busy due to the sheer amount of depth content in the 4 subjects that you take. So in IB, in comparison, you take 6 subjects. You take 3 at higher level and 3 at standard level. In A-levels, you take 3 or 4 subjects, and all of them will be, there's no real extended or core, you just take them, and from the nature of how these courses are structured, I'm sure you can already tell that the A-levels will be significantly more concentrated, focused, and specialized to those 4 subjects that you study for 2 years. So workload-wise, I'm going to say that they both have their pros and cons, but the IB definitely stresses on the coursework aspect, which I think is amazing because it makes sure that you are developing your lab report skills, your academic writing skills, your time management skills as well. I have yet to learn because I've just begun, but I'm sure that it will present me with some challenges that will be pivotal to learn before university, where a lot of your work is coursework. So IB gives you that safe space to practice these college skills, I think. Maybe a little bit more so than the A-levels. But of course, like I mentioned, both of them have their pros and cons. And also, in regards to coursework, like I mentioned, you have 6 subjects, and in each of those subjects in the IB, you're required to complete an internal assessment, or IA, which is basically an individual investigation. How it's formatted and structured depends on the subject itself. Like for biology, it would be just some kind of experimentation or database analysis on a subject that interests you. It can really be anything as long as it's based on the syllabus. And on top of those IAs, which are all marked by your teachers in the end, you have your extended essay, which is a 4,000 word research paper that you can do on any one of the 6 subjects that you've chosen. That goes along in the coursework bundle of the IB. So definitely the IB has more emphasis on a coursework aspect of learning. Also, just as a disclaimer, my school hasn't started any formal drafting or writing of our IAs or EE yet, so I personally have not started any of this coursework that will count to the final IB grade yet. So I can't say for myself how busy it will be, but I've heard that it's quite a handful, but a doable handful at that if you keep consistent. Now, question 4. Now that you're in the IB, would you recommend it to future students? Why or why not? So, as a person who actively chose to do the IB, I would say yes, of course I would say so. So I chose the IB based on a whole mix of reasons surrounding the options I had and the circumstances that I was in regarding my family's move to another country, which didn't have a lot of A-level schools. So that got me researching into what the IB is like and whether I should really opt for that instead of doing A-levels like I had always planned all this while, because A-levels is usually the normal progression for education here in Malaysia or Singapore. So through that research, I found how unique the IBDP course is as a pre-U option. where it gives you the opportunity to nurture yourself, as well as make sure that you are, getting your rest, doing things you enjoy with CAS, critical thinking skills with theory of knowledge, just making you a more well-rounded kid all around, as well as training you in a safer, more guided space for university with the elements of coursework that it emphasizes on, like I mentioned earlier. So specifically for me as well, I hope to pursue a career in research and on advocacy. So the opportunity to learn how to make lab reports and do those IAs and the extended essay in particular was something that I thought would be really beneficial for me to experience and to get the hang of, to see whether I have a knack of these skills, or maybe I could polish them, or whether I really do enjoy them and would like to pursue them as my university courses and on my career later on. So it of course is up to personal preference, though if you think you are a person that's consistent, that would like to pursue research like I am, and are just looking for a more kind of well-rounded or holistic approach to preparing you for college or whatever you'll do after high school, then I think you should look into what the IB has to offer for you. And lastly, question 5, what would you like to say to your future IB self? I wouldn't want to say too much because I think you know what you're doing, hopefully. Just keep going, stay grounded, don't panic, and remember others. I just want to say thank you for following me in a day of my life as an IBDP Year 1 student. I hope you learned something, or that this was helpful to you in any way or form, and it makes your transition from pre-IB to IB a little bit less stressful. If you'd like to see more content like this about the IB, please consider subscribing. Make it a good week. Bye!